prison if convicted. An Elmont man has been busted for allegedly stealing $11,000 in lottery tickets. In November, police say 43-year-old Andre Hampton snatched the tickets from Corey's Stationery in Wantagh. He's been charged with grand larceny and fraud.
A baby born at the right time, but the wrong place. Now, the right time was this morning, right on his due date, but the place was on the side of Sunrise Highway in Wantagh.
I never thought that I'd be delivering on Sunrise Highway. Never.
But Rakeisha McLymont did just that. She was on her way to the hospital with her husband Felix and their 3 children when the contractions got closer and closer.
Meanwhile, I'm in the back, I'm screaming, I'm thinking, how am I going to get this baby out? I'm not at the hospital, I don't have an epidural, I can't believe this is happening, and it's 20 degrees outside.
Things seemed to speed up a lot faster than we expected. And once we got on the Route 135, the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway, we realized that we weren't going to make it to the hospital.
So they called their doctor, Robert Dean, and he actually met them on Sunrise Highway and delivered the baby in their Suburban.
I got out. I did get rid of my jacket and pulled the sleeves up, and I didn't break her water. She actually ruptured as I went to examine her, and she delivered the baby right on the side of the road. It was very uncomplicated, very easy.
And that's how 7-pound, 4-ounce Winston McLymont came into this world.
Enjoy this new baby, and that he grows up healthy, and I hope his brothers and sisters enjoy him as we do.
Well, little Winston may have rushed into the world, but tonight he and his mom are resting comfortably at South Nassau Community's Hospital.
Yeah, he and Mom need to take it easy.
She looks wonderful.
She does.
Baby this morning.
Still to come on News 12 Long Island, weapons inspectors find empty chemical warheads. Will this bring us one step closer to war with Iraq?
And this is no ordinary shuttle mission. This one, we'll tell you why this launch is one for the history books.
And how are Long Island workers bouncing back after losing their jobs in this tough economy? Some tips on surviving tough times in our special report.
And that 4-letter word making its way back into our weather forecast. Bill Bell standing by with some word on snow.
Yes, that's restaurant in May of 2001.
Mayor Bloomberg's approval rating has taken a big hit. In fact, it's at the lowest level since he took office. A New York Times poll shows that 31% of the city approves of the mayor's performance. However, 53% disapprove. In June, only 26% disapproved. Bloomberg has come under fire for cutting services and raising property taxes as he tries to handle the city's financial crisis.
It's not only life in the fast lane, but birth in the fast lane as well. This all happened to one Long Island woman who was on the way to the hospital when her baby just decided to come early. Tonight, Julia Chavez has the story of a special delivery.
I knew the baby was coming, and I was just trying to hold him in.
Meet baby Winston, all of 1 day old. His mom, Rakeisha McLymont, beaming. 24 hours earlier, a different story. Winston was born in the back seat of the family SUV.
When we got in the car, I looked at the clock in our Suburban, and I noticed my contractions were 2 minutes apart. And then all of a sudden, there was no space between contractions at all.
It happened during the morning rush, cars whizzing by on Sunrise Highway.
We were not prepared.
Luckily, Rakeisha's doctor, Robert Dean, was also on the road about a mile away. At 5 to 9, they spoke on the cell phone.
When the doctor and Rakeisha realized baby Winston wasn't going to wait, Rakeisha's husband pulled over here, right off of Sunrise Highway in Wantagh, and waited for Dr. Dean to arrive to help with the delivery.
And I pulled over, got out, took my coat off, pulled the sleeves up a little bit, and checked Rakeisha.
And I put 1 foot on him, 1 foot on the car. My husband blasted the heat, and I pushed. The head came out.
At 9:02, Winston was born. His 2 sisters and brother watched it all, along with Dad.
It could have easily gone another way, especially, if the doctor wasn't there. I would have had to deliver the baby myself.
For Dr. Dean, this wasn't a first.
I had some deliveries where I knew patients were coming and went out and delivered the babies in the cars in the parking lots right outside the hospital. I did 2 deliveries in elevators going from one floor to another.
As for Winston, he's doing great, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. In Oceanside, Long Island, Julia Chavez, UPN 9 News.
When it's time, it's time.
It is. Winston couldn't wait to get into the world. Coming up next on UPN 9 News, could the world run out of bananas?
Also, some good advice for battling wintertime dandruff.
And then how pollution affects children even before they are born. We will show you.
And later, all revved up with no
A newborn baby Winston McLymont III is already living life in the fast lane. And talk about a speedy delivery. The little guy was born on the way to the hospital on Sunrise Highway in Long Island. The McLymont family was on the phone with the doctor at the time, who was driving down the same road less than a mile away. They met up on the highway shoulder, and within 2 minutes, little Winston III was born.
Once I saw the doctor get out of the car, then I felt, okay, Dr. Dean is here. And I felt some measure of relief, but I was still thinking, I can't believe this is happening, you know, on the side of the road in the middle of the winter.
A miracle on the highway. Winston is a healthy 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Linda?
Well, and it was a sweet 16 for the group that calls it.
WB11 tell us at 10.
Okay, tonight we asked, which two teams do you think will make it to the Super Bowl? And here's what you had to say. There are the numbers: 62% Bucks and Raiders, 24% Eagles and Raiders, and
the rest, and all the rest.
Yes.
Finally tonight, a baby with places to go and people to see. In fact, this little one on Long Island was so anxious to get going with life that a doctor ended up having to make a highway call. Rosemary Gomez has details.
This special delivery never ceases to amaze Rakeisha McLymont and her family. The Long Island lawyer gave birth to a bouncing bundle of joy yesterday in a car on the Sunrise Highway after her doctor paid her a road call instead of a house call.
But I was still thinking, I can't believe this is happening, you know, on the side of the road in the middle of the winter.
The expectant mom knew she had to get to South Nassau Community's hospital in Oceanside fast after her contractions got worse. Her husband and 3 other children were in the car so they could witness the birth in the delivery room.
Were you scared? Not at all?
The kids had already seen a real birth on TV, but never in a car. As for their dad,
I wasn't very calm. Maybe on the outside I looked calm.
when the harried husband realized his wife wasn't going to make it to the hospital, he called the doctor on his cell phone. Miraculously, they were on the same roadway and coordinated to meet here in Wantagh.
Immediately, when he came over to the car and started examining her, the baby came out.
And I gave basically 2 pushes, and the baby came out.
Dr. Robert Dean says he's delivered babies in elevators, the hospital parking lot, and even the lobby. But this roadway birth was a first.
It was also special and private because nobody stopped. It was just the family, myself, and the other children. It really was very nice.
The doctor delivered the couple's other 3 children, and despite needing some roadside assistance, 7-pound, 4-ounce Winston seems no worse for the wear. In Oceanside, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the WB11 News at 10.
Aww,
Great family, great
bye.
addition. That's
Yes.
it for this edition of the WB11 News at 10. I'm Jim Watkins.
And I'm Connie Tom. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here over the weekend. Good night.
Good night.
Closed captioning is brought to you as a public service by your local Tri-State Dodge dealers.
Bay Expressway when one woman went into labor and one little boy just couldn't wait.
It's a boy. At 7 pounds, 4 ounces, Winston Philip Prescott McLymont came into this world on an adventurous ride, something his mother never expected.
Well, I woke up around 2:30 yesterday morning, Thursday morning, and I realized I was having contractions. They were maybe 10 minutes apart or 8 minutes apart.
Concerned 38-year-old Rakeisha McLymont called her obstetrician, who told her to meet him at South Nassau Community's hospital.
At that point, he made a joke, or what I thought was a joke, and he said, "Don't have the baby before you get to the hospital." And I thought, haha, very funny.
It turned out not to be so funny. Rakeisha's contractions were coming on faster as her husband raced from their Laurel Hollow home south on the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway. Once Rakeisha's contractions were only 2 minutes apart, she began to panic, and she paged her doctor. That's when they coordinated a plan to meet right out on the highway. It was on the side of the road on Sunrise Highway where the doctor's quick and calm actions made for a smooth delivery.
When we had the hot air coming out as opposed to cold air going into the car, baby's head came out, and when she pushed the second time, I was able to get the baby right up to mom, where you want to put a baby anyway.
The McLymonts had planned for their 3 other children to be present during the delivery, which they wound up being witnesses to only in their parents' SUV.
I saw the baby come out.
Proud Papa, a 43-year-old insurance broker, and his attorney wife plan to keep their Suburban for posterity.
Oh, I'm going to show them exactly where it happened because we plan to keep our SUV that this happened in. I'm going to take them to the spot where it occurred.
Besides the truck, the McLymonts will have a story they will be sharing for years to come, something that hasn't completely sunk in yet.
I had a baby in the car in the middle of the highway in the middle of the winter with 20-degree weather, and I couldn't believe it.
In Oceanside, Erica Pearson, News 55.
And still to come on News 55, more legal trouble for musician Bobby Brown. Plus, it was a dangerous situation in California, where cooking oil fueled a raging fire that burned its way through a warehouse.
Right back. New earlier start for a weekend today in New York. And finally tonight, we have an exciting detour to tell you about on the road to motherhood for one Long Island woman.
Well, Rakesia McLymont was in labor yesterday, but never made it to South Nassau Community's Hospital in Oceanside in time for her delivery. Instead, she and her husband pulled off the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway at Sunrise Highway and called her doctor for help. Can you believe that he was on the same road about a mile away and he pulled up to McLymont's SUV just as little Winston was being born?
I was still thinking, I can't believe this is happening, you know, on the side of the road in the middle of the winter.
A lot of luck and a little bit of thought, and I was concerned because she delivers extremely quickly.
Mother and child are now cruising down Easy Street and doing just fine.
And that's it for News Channel 4 at 11. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno is straight ahead.
Good night and have a nice warm weekend.
Your doctor had to make a special delivery on the highway during Thursday's morning rush. News 12 Long Island's Antoinette Biordi has the story.
I never thought that I'd be delivering on Sunrise Highway. Never.
But Rakesia McLymont did, and now the whole family is enjoying their new bundle of joy at South Nassau Community's Hospital. 7-pound, 4-ounce Winston McLymont was born in this Suburban on the side of Sunrise Highway in Wantagh. Rakesia, her husband Felix, and their 3 children were on their way to the hospital when Rakesia felt her contractions getting closer and closer. As Felix was driving as fast as he could, baby couldn't wait. They called their doctor, Robert Dean. He met them on the side of Sunrise Highway and delivered the baby right there in their truck.
Meanwhile, I'm in the back, I'm screaming, I'm thinking, how am I going to get this baby out? I'm not at the hospital, I don't have an epidural, I can't believe this is happening, and it's 20 degrees outside.
Things seemed to speed up a lot faster than we expected. And once we got on the Route 135, the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway, we realized that we weren't going to make it to the hospital.
I got out. I did get rid of my jacket and pulled the sleeves up, and I didn't break her water. She actually ruptured as I went to examine her, and she delivered the baby right on the side of the road. It was very uncomplicated, very easy.
Rakesia says she wanted her children to be present for the birth, but she never imagined it would happen this way.
Enjoy this new baby, and that he grows up healthy, and I hope his brothers and sisters enjoy him as we do.
Antoinette Biordi, News 12, Long Island.
While the place where Winston was born was unusual, his timing was perfect. He was born right on his due date. That's This Week on Long Island. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Colleen McVeigh. Have a great weekend.
The Pentagon.
To the Middle East and beyond.
In Tel Aviv. Qatar. From Istanbul. Kabul.
As the showdown with Iraq continues, stay with CNN.
Tonight, U.S. officials are calling it a terrorist attack. The shooting of 2 U.S. civilians, contract workers for the American military in Kuwait. One of them died in a hail of bullets. The other miraculously survived. The U.S. ambassador to Kuwait said the U.S. has, quote, full confidence that Kuwait will pursue the case vigorously and professionally. It is the 3rd such shooting there in 4 months. CNN's Martin Savage has the details of this latest attack.
It was an ambush, Kuwaiti officials say, that trapped the 2 Americans in a hail of gunfire. At least 24 bullets punched into the SUV the pair of civilian U.S. military contractors were riding in north of Kuwait City. 46-year-old Michael Rene Pouliot of San Diego in the passenger seat was killed instantly. The driver wounded, shot at least 4 times in the leg, shoulder, and chest.
Nobody knows. Must be there was in vehicles, then they are standing, then they are using their weapons behind these bushes, and then they took their vehicle to escape from this area.
Authorities believe the attacker or attackers hid in the small trees lining the highway, choosing the spot because of the intersection and traffic light that would slow potential targets. Police say the weapon used was an AK-47, and the suspect or suspects then fled in a waiting vehicle. The incident took place just 3 miles from Camp Doha, the largest U.S. military base in the country. The U.S. ambassador to Kuwait called the shooting a terrorist attack. As a manhunt began to find the assailants, the Kuwaiti government called the incident shocking and terrible and offered its condolences to the families of the victims and U.S. officials. It is not the first time Americans have been in the crosshairs here with deadly results. Last October, U.S. Marines involved in a training exercise were shot at by 2 attackers from a pickup truck. 1 Marine died, another was wounded. The gunmen were killed. Then, in November, 2 American servicemen were shot and wounded by a Kuwaiti police officer after he stopped the soldiers on a roadway. The suspect was later arrested in Saudi Arabia. The latest shooting immediately raised security levels in Kuwait around U.S. forces. After receiving word of the attack, these Oklahoma National Guard troops raced to take up defensive positions around the Army installation they were assigned to protect. U.S. troops can beef up security, but as Tuesday's incident demonstrates, no plan is perfect. Martin Savage, CNN, Kuwait.
One of the surgeons who operated on the man who was driving, David Caraway, spoke today about how Caraway survived at least 6 bullets.
The bullet which entered in the chest wall on the right side, definitely he was lucky, because it seems that the angle of entrance was in a way that it passed all the structures. I mean, neither entered the chest wall nor the major vessels and nerves which just were in very near proximity of the upper arm.
The 2 men both worked for Tapestry Solutions, a U.S. military contractor. Tapestry is just one of many companies that employs hundreds of Americans in military-related and civilian jobs there. We asked CNN's Charles Feldman to fill us in on the Tapestry workers, and he joins us now from San Diego. Charles, what can you tell us about these 2 men?
Well, Connie, first of all, of course, a very sad story, and here's the latest that we've got. Michael Pouliot was 46 years old. He leaves behind a 12-year-old and 14-year-old daughter, as well as a wife here in the San Diego area. He was the co-founder, in fact, of this company. And the other gentleman who was injured, but we were told is in stable condition and is likely to survive. David Caraway is 38 years of age. His wife, we were told, is in Europe, and it is not clear whether or not she is even aware of the condition of her husband and what, in fact, happened in Kuwait. This is a very small company. It's got about 44 employees scattered throughout the world, only about 28 kind of here in this building in San Diego. The employees who work here were told not to come in today, not clear when they will come in. The executives, all of the executives for this company, we are told, are scattered throughout Europe, none of them here in the United States. But what we are told is that, of course, word of this tragedy spread very quickly, very far and wide, and a very sad day for all the people connected with this small company. Connie?
Charles, do you know if there are any other employees of Tapestry in Kuwait?
Not clear about that, Connie. It's a situation that is still, of course, developing, as you can imagine, here. And with all the key executives out of the United States, the people who have been handling the public relations for the company, talking to those of us in the press, are not exactly up to speed on everything involving this company. But as far as we know, there are only 2 people actually in Kuwait. The rest of the executives of this company scattered, as I mentioned, throughout Europe, and the president of the company, in fact, in Germany.
All right, Charles Feldman, I thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 3rd such shooting in 4 months in Kuwait. So what is it like for Americans in that country? Maggie Al-Mughrabi is a native New Yorker who has lived in Kuwait for 13 years. She and her Kuwaiti husband have 3 children, and she joins us now from Kuwait City. Thank you, Maggie, for being with us. Once again, we'll tell the viewers you've been living there. Thank you so much. You've been living there for 13 years now, and there have been several incidents since October. Are you fearful now?
When the actual 3 incidents happened before, it was shock. And for this to actually happen today, it was a disappointment not only to me, but I actually think to the entire Kuwaiti community and the entire Kuwaiti country. For the most part, Kuwaiti people are so peaceful. They're very hospitable, and actually they embrace the American community into their country. So yes, definitely, yes, it's a disappointment, and yes, I am fearful, of course, because I am fearful because it made it had an impact on me, not only in the sense that actually I'm more aware now. I actually stopped at the stoplight and actually looked back to see if anyone was actually looking at me because they were targeting me because of blonde hair or because I was a foreigner, or could they actually even notice, for that matter. But yes, it has made an impact, and I'm sad to say that it has made an impact on my life here and my status here in Kuwait.
Are you taking any special precautions, Maggie?
Well, as of today, yes, I am taking special precautions. Actually, I was on the base when I actually heard of the incident, and yes, definitely I am taking special precautions. I'm actually looking back and seeing if anyone is following me, which is sad to say, because I think we actually took the freedom for granted that we are protected and that we are safe here, and that Kuwaitis are peaceful people, and that I would not want this to actually reflect on the entire Kuwaiti population, but also to say that, yes, I am taking extra precautions as of today.
Maggie, I thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your staying up to this hour. Right now, Kuwait's next-door neighbor is the focus of much diplomatic squabbling, as we see in tonight's World in 60. President Bush reacted to some U.S. allies' growing opposition to war by reiterating that time is running out for Iraq. Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage added that if other nations were unwilling to act, the U.S. would, quote, make a stand. Osama bin Laden apparently used a simple trick to avoid capture in Afghanistan in late 2001. According to the Washington Post, bin Laden gave his satellite telephone, which was being traced, to his bodyguard, who then used it to divert American troops from bin Laden's real position. In Venezuela, former President Jimmy Carter presented President Hugo Chavez with an electoral blueprint to end a crippling 51-day strike. Chavez said he was open to plans for early elections or a referendum on his presidency. Mexico asked the International Court of Justice to block the execution of 54 of its citizens who are on death row in the U.S. Mexico says the U.S. failed to inform the prisoners of their consular rights.
Next, a special delivery that gives the term baby on board a whole new meaning. Connie Chung Tonight will continue in a moment.
Today, HP technology is producing prodigies of speed and discovering new directions in film. It's investigating new worlds out there and in us. And it's making the global economy more global. For the world's great companies, thinkers, and doers, HP makes more things more possible.
I'm saving $160 a night at this 4-star hotel.
A 3-star for $59 a night.
We're saving $100 a night in New York City.
We even got the kids in their own room.
Priceline now has the guaranteed best prices at top-of-the-line hotels. Save up to 40% off other leading online sites.
I paid $55 less than at Hotels.com.
$60 less than Expedia.
I told them the price.
The exact neighborhood and even how many stars, and they found it.
Now we'll stay at a hotel instead of the in-laws.
Top of the line, guaranteed best price. Priceline Hotels.
Unlike Wall Street, your life doesn't stop every day at 4. Your hopes and dreams go beyond stocks and bonds. You want to guard and grow your portfolio, and things more valuable than portfolios. At Merrill Lynch, our financial advisors know your financial life goes beyond Wall Street. So their advice goes further too. Introducing Total Merrill. we see your financial life in total, we make it all add up to more.
A new, more powerful V8 engine. More distinctive styling. 368 improvements in all. The new 2003 Discovery. It's a whole new way to see the world. From Land Rover, the most well-traveled vehicles on Earth. Nicely equipped from $34,995. Complimentary scheduled maintenance included.
CNN Tonight, former Dynasty star Michael Nader opens up for the first time on his near-fatal addiction, his drug-dealing bust, his lawsuit, his health, and the tabloids. Michael Nader, only on Larry King Live. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Having a baby is tough enough. But Rakeisha McLymont, who happens to be a lawyer, not only gave birth to little Winston before she got to the hospital, she did it in the family SUV on the way there. She, her husband Felix, their children, Gabrielle, who's 5, Dominique, who's 3, and Felix the 3rd, who's 18 months and not there tonight, were racing to the hospital, and so was their doctor, Robert Dean, just ahead of them. And they all join us now to tell us exactly how young Winston came into the world. Rakeisha, tell me, is he okay? Is little Winston okay? I know he's still in the hospital and suffering from jaundice.
Yes, he's doing much better, and he hopefully will be coming home tomorrow. So he's fine.
Good. All right, let's go to last Thursday. You were having contractions all through the night, and by 8 a.m. in the morning, you called your doctor and said they're coming every 5 minutes. And he said something to you before you and your husband and your 3 children piled into the SUV. He said something to you. What did he say?
He said, just don't have the baby before you get to the hospital. And the reason he said that was because when I called him at 8 to say that my contractions were now 5 minutes apart, which is the time that they like you to actually make your way to the hospital, he said, well, I'll see you at the hospital, thinking I was ready to leave then, but I really wasn't because I hadn't gotten dressed and so forth. So I said, well, I'll see you in a half hour. And I think that half hour made him worry, and that's why he made what I thought was a joke, but it turned out to be really not a joke at all.
So you're racing in the car, and your contractions are occurring every minute now.
Well, what happened was they were 5 minutes apart. They started at 2:30 in the morning, and they were maybe 8 or 10 minutes apart. And then through the night, they got closer together. And I think because I was lying down and not really moving around, they didn't speed up very quickly. Once I started getting dressed and getting ready to leave the house, they really started accelerating. And I wasn't even counting them until I got into the car. But then when I looked at the clock on the dashboard, it said, 2 minutes. It was 8:54, then it was 8:56, and I realized, yeah, something's going to happen. And then the next one came a minute after the previous one, and the one that came a minute later didn't stop, and that's when I knew I had to push.
All right, so you paged the doctor, and he's driving in his car to the hospital as well. Felix, did you think to yourself, uh-oh, I may have to deliver this baby?
I certainly did.
Were you prepared in your mind?
I was getting prepared, definitely, but I was very, very concerned.
All right, so Dr. Dean, both of you are heading to the hospital, and you realize that it's getting perilously close because you're on your cell phone and they're on their cell phone. And so you pull off, both of you pull off, and you hop out of your car, and when you open the door, what do you see?
Well, when I opened the side door, Rakeisha was right there in the seat in front of me. The other children were in the back or alongside of her, and Rakeisha clearly had that look on her face that she was going to have the baby. And when I asked her, she said she couldn't wait anymore, so we went ahead and prepared to have the delivery right there.
And did it happen within seconds?
Well, we had to take enough time to get the car ready. Part of what we did was get the car warmed up, turn the heat up very high, get all the other doors closed, and Rakeisha positioned her feet, one on the door that opened, the other on my left shoulder, and she had the baby very quickly after that. Just 2 pushes, very easy, and we used Felix's coat to dry the baby and put him right up where he belongs on Mom's belly.
Easy for you to say, Dr. Dean. Rakeisha, what were you thinking? Rakeisha, were you thinking, oh my gosh?
Well, I was actually calling for an ambulance. I was telling my husband, I'm not going to make it, call an ambulance. I had no idea that Dr. Dean had timed his departure from his house. He actually lives very close to us. When I said it'll take me another half hour to leave. So he didn't leave until about a half hour later. And so, you know, I didn't know he was only a mile ahead of us on the road. And I was just thinking, what am I going to do? I have to push, you know, and there's nobody who can help me. So once I found out that he was actually so close to us and we were going to rendezvous with him, I felt a lot better, but I was still very nervous, and I also wanted my epidural that I realized I was not going to have.
So when Dr. Dean showed up and opened that SUV door, you really didn't have much time to think anymore. I mean, that was it, wasn't it?
That was really it. I mean, he checked me really quickly. My water broke at that point. He felt the head. And he asked me if I could wait, and I said no, and you know, then I pushed. The head came out. I didn't even feel when the head came out. I asked him, and then he said, well, push again, and I said, well, I'm waiting for the next contraction, and that's because having had other children, it's actually easier to push with the contractions rather than on your own. And he said, you can't wait, it's too cold, because it was 22 degrees outside on that Thursday morning. And so I took a deep breath, gave another push, and then the whole baby came out. He placed him on my stomach, and I was just in total shock that, you know, there I was in the car. Now we were driving a little bit more slowly to the hospital, and he called the hospital to alert them that we were coming, and I was just sitting there with the baby on my stomach, wrapped in my husband's coat, in complete shock that this had just happened.
Gabrielle, what did you see?
I saw the baby's head come out.
You did? Was that exciting?
Yes.
And so what did you all name the baby?
Winston.
Ah, and you're going to take care of, are you going to help take care of Winston?
Yes.
Good girl. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. It's quite a good experience. Do you want Mommy to have any more babies?
No.
I think everybody probably agrees, huh? Is that right, Rakasha? Rakesha?
Yes. We're definitely, we knew that we were finished before because we're blessed to have 2 girls and 2 boys, and now we feel, you know, God was definitely watching over us on Thursday, and we don't want to take any more chances with more children. So.
Okay, great. Congratulations. A wonderful story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felix.
Thank you,
Rakasha. I'm sorry I didn't talk to you more, Felix, but you know, you don't have anything to do with this anyway, right? Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Exactly.
Thank you, Connie.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
And you know what? I'll bet little Winston's first words are going to be, Mommy, are we there yet? Still ahead. Would you believe a movie star actually getting heavier to get apart? Stay with us.
Get a powerful Motorcraft tested tough battery